first PGMOL match officials mic'd up show. Fronted by Howard Webb, it aired last night as key decisions were reviewed and assessed. So this is them trying to tell us, okay, certain decisions that have been in the public domain and are up for debate, and we admit we maybe didn't get all right, and they're coming out clean, to be quite honest, Danny, and they're saying we do not have a 100% record in all of this, nor did we ever say we would.
Correct.
But they're coming clean about it all.
Well,
so, Danny, is it a first positive step to restoring trust and confidence in refereeing standards?
I was talking to you out there, and Luke, and I did say, I think they're trying to be transparent. It's good intention. Howard's trying to change things. He's trying to deflect the noise, and rightly so, by being clear, by admitting mistakes, trying to talk through them. So that's all positive. I'm a bit wary of the big howlers being shown, aired, and I understand why he's doing it, to shut out the noise of everyone saying, why don't we hear the process of how we got to this really bad decision? But I think it's a bit like, well, I gave you the analogy before, maybe it's not perfect, but if your partner cheats on you and then explains herself, she's still cheated, hasn't she? The mistake still happened. There's nothing in the explanation that's going to make it better.
All of a sudden, you're in very dangerous territory.
And the fact is that
a conscious decision as opposed to an honest mistake are two different things, aren't you? If you're going to use that analogy, someone makes a conscious decision to behave badly is not the same as someone making an unfortunate error. In terms of...
It's not unfortunate. It's incompetent.
No, hold on.
It's bad. It's bad.
Hold on. Human error is part of every aspect of life.
But
the characteristic that guys like you seem to want is this ridiculous analysis that someone somewhere whispered in your ear that 100% of the time referees were going to get it right.
No, I don't believe that.
So then pack it in.
There are three big mistakes. We're talking about this one mistake. We're talking about the one they've released, the Wolves one. That's
yeah.
Well, my point is that they've released it. And somehow that's going to give a better perception for the public, make the Wolves fans feel better, make the manager feel better. What does it achieve? Does it achieve good?
But the bottom line is,
what does it achieve? What's the point?
But whatever backpedaling somewhat,
whatever people haven't got, let's have it right. Whatever people haven't got is the reasons why something has happened. Right? We're making a case for the necessity to have transparency, which is broadcasting, hearing what's going to be said between Stockley Park and the referee. It's going to make no difference, right? Because all that's going to happen is you're going to get a jeering crowd booing it and heckling it as it's being done, right? In the same way that when the referee is sent over to the monitor, the crowd and the dugouts are interacting with the referee as much as they possibly can to influence his thinking. But do you know what it is? It's something we haven't got. So if we haven't got it, we must now have it, because that will give us an opportunity to restore trust. How about people start from the principle of doing as they're bloody well told and respecting the authority on the pitch and valuing it rather than making it an us and them mentality? Us being the players and the managers and the fans, and them being this awful toxic breed of incompetent buffoons, the referees.
Well, we talked about that before. I agree on that. What I'm talking about
but that's the whole point.
This is the whole point.
That's the whole point.
The point we're talking about is a mistake that they highlighted and showed and released the audio.
Yeah.
And the audio is pointless. They're only showing.
But what do you want them to do, Danny? If they get right, we'll go to the Onana thing in a moment. The Manchester United.
I said I understand why they do it.
If they got that wrong, they got that wrong. Simon's right. If they got that wrong, now what would you rather they did? Hide under a bushel. Webb's on TV last night saying we got it wrong.
They apologised to Gary O'Neill after the game. Right thing to do.
But we're in a society of apologies.
Yeah. So accept it.
He did.
But why don't you?
Accept what?
Accept the apology.
I did.
In amongst a whole myriad of ones they get right, they got that one wrong.
I've accepted it.
So what's your problem with it?
I'm saying that there's no point to releasing the audio of how they got to the mistake. All you're listening to is incompetency.
But if they didn't,
I've just listened to it. I wouldn't. I've never said I want to hear it. I've never said I want to.
There is okay, not you then specifically, right? Let's move away from targeting you, albeit you've been a naysayer since the get-go.
And we like targeting you.
But we're in a situation where there is a significant, vociferous group of people that are suggesting
want to hear it.
That want to hear it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
I think it's valueless, right?
Yeah, but there you go.
For some reason or another, there is a sense of entitlement in this country that you have to understand every single nuance and peculiarity about how something works, rather than just simply accepting at sometimes that people do things because they make the best endeavours and sometimes they get it it wrong.
Yeah.
In this instance, what Howard is trying to do is, okay, right, for a variety of reasons...
Stop the noise.
No more noise, right? I'm going to be definite. I'm going to
that.
be absolutely unequivocal. I'm going to make sure my referees have the courage of their convictions. I'm going to make sure they double down on it. I'm going to stop this nonsense in the game that I don't want. There's going to be no more Andy Robertsons, no more Bruno Fernandes, no more Jurgen Klopp, no more nonsense on the touchline with officials letting them get away with it.
Which is
Hopefully,
great.
he'll get his officials to stop shaking the hands of bleeding players when they've come off and told the referee to F off.
Yeah.
Hopefully, he'll get that into the psyche of referees as well. And then we'll get into a situation where there's a bit more balance. And at the same time, he understands the dynamics of the entertainment business. And he knows that he's got to communicate something to the baying mob that are unrealistic and unfair in their observations. And that's what he's doing.
But I said that. He's trying to quieten down the noise of people saying, "Let's hear everything." Then,
So
But you came in this morning and said, "What's the point of that show?"
I'm sticking with that. No, not the show. The releasing of the
But
bad
there's
mistake.
every point in releasing it.
Not
There's
to-
every point
not
because you
to me,
want
Jim.
because
Jim,
you
I
and
don't have
everybody
to
else
have-
want, and we want
Jim,
transparency.
the point of a debate, I don't have to have the same opinion as you.
No, that's true.
So
You
my
have to educate
opinion,
yourself
my
and then come
opinion
round to
is,
our opinion.
I don't need educating on that mistake. It's a howler. I know it is, and whatever comes out of their mouth to get to that final decision is irrelevant to me
Why?
because it's been made.
Why?
But people
because
like
it's
you-
only going to show them up to be incompetent.
Because
Simon.
sunlight is the greatest disinfectant. If
Pardon?
you can see, sunlight is the greatest disinfectant. If you can see why people are making decisions, the first thing you'll do is actually understand
I've
decision
listened
making,
to it. It tells me exactly what I already knew.
which is incompetence.
Well, yeah, and when you break it down, if we listen to it,
Only
I'll
incompetence.
tell you exactly why they
but
got it
only
wrong.
incompetence in your mind. It has nothing to do with the context of the fact they've made a decision because their view is this. You are categoric in your mind that the only reason they made that decision is utter incompetence.
Most decisions, we could sit here and you think one thing, I think another. These ones we're talking about, and
Well,
they
definitely
are
about wearing those
there
shorts,
are
yeah.
there are only a few. We're talking across the board howlers that everybody agrees on.
Yeah.
Right? So
Yeah.
my point is only on those ones where you go, look, it's so bad we know it is. Explaining how bad how you got to the ridiculous decision
is
not
a moot concept.
yeah, it's not going to benefit anybody.
But you think this is incompetence?
Of course it's
You
incompetent.
immediately look at that and think they're incompetent. That was incompetence.
Absolutely.
That's your take
For that
on it.
decision.
How do you...
That's it.
Well, if it wasn't incompetence, why did
But
we
how
get
do you-
stood down the week after?
But how do you? But that's the right process,
Because
isn't it?
that appeases,
Absolutely.
that appeases
Surely that's the
principle.
right
Yeah,
process.
sit them aside, show them the error of the ways, and hope they improve and get better. Absolutely.
So you clearly don't, because you say they're incompetent. You feel right across the board that they don't have the necessary skills to do something successfully,
No, that's not what I said.
because that's what incompetent means.
Incompetence in a moment, incompetence or minority of the team that they have is incompetent. Hence the fact you only
Incompetent. Incompetent, showing the not having the necessary skills to
Correct.
do something successfully.
Let's
So
move
they
away-
don't.
Let's move away
Some
from
of them
the,
don't, no.
let's move away from
Absolutely,
the
Jim.
semantics.
That's
Let's move away from the
exactly what it is.
semantics and move on to the area of how do we move the debate along? Because the debate still rages repeatedly and endlessly via leading pundits and football people endlessly about the level of performance from referees. We know, and you argue about statistics, we know that actually VAR being implemented has improved and reduced the level of mistakes that are being made. Manchester United would have won that game on Sunday probably if Garnacho's goal had been allowed. Some people would say it was onside, but most people think it was off. Right, so with that in mind, a legitimate decision. None of that gets played out. The only thing that gets played out, like most things in news, is the bad stuff. How do we change the narrative? How do we stop this endless pursuit of this ridiculous ideal that referees aren't going to make mistakes and turn it into a culture where their contribution to the game is in part respected, valued, and stop being vilified in the same way that other parts of the game aren't?
Well, I think we are on the way. I think we
By
are on
things
the way.
like this.
Yeah, no problem with some clarity and
what are you on about
communication. I'm on about the big howlers being thrown out there,
but
so we
Danny,
listen to.
But that's
it-
because
before-
you're educated in the subject matter. A lot of the
but
masses
anybody should be.
aren't.
Danny, before this system existed, Garnacho's goal would have stood.
Yeah,
And that would have been wrong.
Jim, I have not sat here this
And
season.
that's a howler.
We talked many times last season, argued this point about me giving it a chance and trying to evolve. I know it's here. I'm trying.
And
I'm
you
not-
never do.
I do. I've said many positive things already this season on the shows that I do. Right, about some of the good decisions.
So why do we
I
hear
don't
the word
just pull up
incompetent
I don't
in
because
there?
the howlers we're talking about
Howlers?
are so bad.
Howlers.
3 howlers.
Did they get Garnacho right at the weekend?
Yes.
But to be fair to Danny, that wasn't a howl, that was a marginal decision. The argument about the Wolves goalkeeper clearing out their centre-back or centre-forward, whatever it was, is clearly more compelling.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10. On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.